G'day, Seb Webb here from Webb Performance, and welcome to the Webb Performance Podcast. Each week we will be diving into the ins and outs of athletic development from a strength and conditioning perspective, rehab perspective, and insights from current athletes themselves. This week we will be discussing energy systems, covering all three of the energy systems and emphasizing the importance of anaerobic speed reserve for team-based athletes. 3 energy systems. 2 of the energy systems fall under the anaerobic category, meaning without oxygen. These systems are the phosphagen system, also known as ATP-PC, and the glycolytic systems. The third system is the aerobic system, which means with oxygen. We will quickly cover each energy system and how they generate energy, being adenosine triphosphate, ATP for short. The phosphagen system has a duration of typically 5 to 10 seconds, 15 seconds at most. So think of your world-class sprinters and how phosphagen dominant they are. So really short, sharp, intensive activities such as sprinting in your sport, this energy system will be most dominant. Quick science background. This system relies on stored creatine phosphate in your body to quickly regenerate as ATP and has a very limited supply, thus the short duration of this energy system. The glycolytic or lactate system provides energy for your moderate to high intensity activities lasting between 1 to 3 minutes. Scientifically, glucose, which is sugar, is broken down through glycolysis to produce ATP, energy. This is done without the presence of oxygen, and as most of you are aware, that buildup of lactate, that burning sensation leads to fatigue, but still doesn't have the presence of oxygen within the body. This typically lasts for 1 to 3 minutes, so over a 400 meter run, or just repeat efforts in your sport as an example of the lactate system at work. The third energy system is our aerobic system, your main source of energy for longer durations of low to moderate activities. From a mechanism perspective, glucose, fats, and proteins are metabolized in the presence of oxygen to generate ATP. The aerobic system requires oxygen, as the name states, and is seen as your initial tank of energy for your running demands in your sport. One thing we need to note about the energy systems is that they all work together simultaneously. The reason is because they provide a continuous supply of ATP, being the energy currency of the body. Something to take note of. They all work together always. Stepping away from the science we just discussed about ATP in the 3 energy systems, we're going to primarily discuss how we can create anaerobic speed reserve, known as ASR, which is going to give us the edge to really dominate in our sport. So 2 other things we need to focus on with our ASR is our max sprint speed and our max aerobic speed. Your max aerobic speed is the speed where an athlete reaches maximum oxygen uptake or their VO2 max. And for team sports, this is how we generally measure our fitness levels. So most team sports will complete a 2K time trial, a yo-yo intimate level 1 fitness test, potentially a beep test, so many different things. Your rugby coach will do a bronco test, lots of different types of shuttle runs, but your MAS will determine how fast you can run with maximum oxygen uptake. So that is going to be initial tank for your team sports. So MAS is typically going to be ran between 4 to 5 meters per second. This is what we usually our calculations for, and we use that to determine what running drills we have as well. Then when we start tapping into other energy systems such as our lactate, potentially our phosphagen systems as well, we will prescribe loads and speeds above our recorded MASs to start tapping into those different energy systems, but to also build up the aerobic energy system as well. So how we increase our max aerobic speed is simply by working at it. We can be working at thresholds below max aerobic speeds, simply at 90%, which can have durations up to 3 minutes. And as soon as we start creeping up that intensity, the duration needs to drop simply because the speeds are higher and that presence of lactate can start to build as the oxygen starts to deplete out of our body. Then, if we just tap onto max sprint speed or max speed training, we can think the phosphagen system, so that 5 to 10, maybe 15 seconds in duration. If we use max sprint speed just for team sport athletes, and we can increase that ability to become faster, our phosphagen system may keep up with this as well. But let's just think, increase our max sprint speed and our max aerobic speed, and in between that, we have what's called our anaerobic speed reserve. So that's really the difference between our max speed capabilities and our max aerobic speed capabilities. And the bigger the window you have of that, the more ability you can repeat really intense efforts and make game-winning situations in your sport. So think of those athletes who are just super quick and super rapid, but have the ability just to repeat it over and over again. They're more likely going to create the successful outcomes for you and your team, right? So why don't we focus on trying to increase our anaerobic speed reserve? So early days, especially for team sports such as netball and basketball, where a little bit of controversy can happen here, but why don't we just focus on developing our max speed capacity or ability to actually boost up our anaerobic speed reserve. That's what we typically do in our netball. So we just have a higher window of that anaerobic speed reserve. So I think the lactate system just has more ability to repeat each effort. And when you can really just keep repeating effort after effort, it's so hard for the opposition to keep up, because the intensity you can just repeat, and I keep saying repeat, but the intensity that you can just keep going with throughout the game, it can be really taxing for that opposition. It can be really hard to keep up. So key things to really try and improve these energy systems is understanding what type of mechanisms we have, as we just touched on earlier. And if we go back to our first energy system being the phosphagen energy system, again, it's that 5 to 10 seconds we're going to really hit that sweet spot. And if we just use max sprint speed as an example, we can take any type of max sprint speed training we want. If you want to keep it safe for your team athletes, especially in the early days of preseason or late stages of off-season before preseason, just do flying type efforts. Flying efforts mean that you can just gradually build up a speed, so you're not excessively taken off the mark, and then you complete your distance from there, which really for team sports is still going to calculate to that total meterage of between 100 to 300 meters per session. So an example could be 20 meter flies. Your first 2 to 3 sets could just be build up or ramp up steps, where you have about 10 to 20 meter run-in. So I typically like to get people doing a bit of a bound to start with, increase their stride length. Then as they go, they build up speed to be mimicking that longer stride length and quicker ground contact time at top speed. And then once they hit that starting cone, which could just be that 20 meter cone initially, then they sprint from that 20 to the other 20 meter cone. So that's really 40 meters in distance, which is still quite high volume. Then if we build our max speed capacity, therefore the phosphagen system's primarily at work, we have to have good adequate rest as well. So particularly between a 1:5 ratio, or really if we just go off the sprinting models, every 10 meters sprinted equals 30 to 60 seconds rest. Therefore we can develop good max sprint speed, but also tap into that phosphagen system as well, which can be a little bit controversial because you generally want to be around that 1:5 ratio mark, but let's just use developing the phosphagen system through max sprint speed in this example. Then for our max aerobic speeds, we will be just covering at the speeds either between 90 to 100% to actually increase that ability as well. Then from there, anything above that is going to be our lactate work. And so that really high intense interval type running, your 1 to 2 ratios of work to rest, etc. And to really harnessing on that anaerobic speed reserve, that glycolytic system, that lactate capacity and threshold, the tolerance, it's just simply going to make you a better athlete. And having that ability to keep repeating all those high intense efforts game after game is going to be the gatekeeper for you to have ultimate success from an energy system perspective. So if we can really understand the mechanisms of each energy system, being the phosphagen system, glycolytic, and the aerobic system, how they all interplay with each other to create a well-rounded athlete, we can start to understand that if we do specific types of training and work to rest ratios at certain speeds, we're going to influence the ability to increase anaerobic speed reserve. So if we build our speed capacity first, getting our sprint speed higher, simply our window of that anaerobic threshold starts to creep up. And if we can have a bigger tank with our max aerobic speed reserves too, we can simply not deplete as fast since our anaerobic speed reserve is higher. So use anaerobic speed reserve as the key indicator for athletic performance. The ability to repeat intense efforts repeatedly throughout a game is going to be the gatekeeper for you and your team to have success from an energy system perspective.